Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. If I mention sports in the Bronx, especially in the summertime, we'll all think of baseball and the Yankees, of course. Basketball is known as the city's game as it rages in Bronx parks all summer. And particularly with immigrant communities in the Bronx, the emergence of soccer cannot be denied. But did you know that the New York Junior Tennis League, that reaches nearly, now get this, 90,000 kids and families across all the 5 boroughs, has its $26 million flagship location right in the center of the borough of the Bronx? And what makes the Cary Leeds Center in Crotona Park an incredibly special resource in the Bronx is that it's not only about tennis, it's about education and academic support, healthy living and role modeling and character building for our kids and also for our adults, things that we really, really value in the Bronx. So as the summer unfolds, that's our show for tonight, the NYJTL's Cary Leeds Center. Please join me in welcoming the CEO of the New York Junior Tennis and Learning. It is Udai Tambar. Nice to see you, Mr. Tambar.
Nice to meet you.
And she is the Director of Junior Development at NYJTL's Cary Leeds Center. It is Yesica De Lucas. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's just start with you, Mr. Tambar. Let's just talk about what I know is the New York Junior Tennis League or New York Junior Tennis and Learning.
Yeah.
What is it? Who is it? Why is it so important that we put it on TV tonight?
First of all, thank you for inviting us and thank you for your sort of support of what we do. Without it, I think we wouldn't be as successful as we are. You know, we've been around for over 50 years. We were founded by Arthur Ashe. And the DNA of the organization is to create success on and off the court. We believe it's as important for young people to succeed on the court, winning tournaments, as it is for them to graduate high school, go to college, and pursue their careers. We do that through our wonderful staff, like Yesica here, who works with our young people. We have sites throughout the city. Like you said, the jewel in the crown is the Cary Leeds Center, but we have...
That's nice to know, by the way. Out of the 5 boroughs, this is the jewel.
Yeah.
Would never surprise me, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we will reach young people in about 100 unique locations throughout the city. Sometimes it's in grassroots programs, which could be in schoolyards, parks. Sometimes it's in school-based programs, including in the Bronx, you know, PS 75, Eagle Academy. We run comprehensive school-based after-school programs there. Or we even partner with the local police department with the Cary Leeds Center. And that's how we reach our young people.
As you know, I've been doing this program for a very long time. I used to say, and I guess I could still say, is, you know, what question do you get asked the most? And the question I get asked the most from parents is, what are my kids doing after school?
Right.
And if you break down so many of the issues, whether it be education or healthcare
100%.
or crime and youth crime, the answer to that question is right in the center of how well we're all going to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, for young people, the question always is, what's the alternative, right? If they're after school, if you don't give them a positive outlet where they can channel their energy, their talents, they're going to get attracted to unhealthy behavior. What we try to do is be that positive alternative. I mean, we say this as an organization, we believe this, is that talent is universal, opportunity is not. And in the Bronx especially, there's a lot of talent. So we run free programs with the community. Friday nights, Saturday nights, we partner with the local 4-2, other police precincts as well. And there's a lot of young people coming up. And I think you're right, the after school hours are critical. We got to engage the young people.
Absolutely. You know, as you were talking, it's not appropriate. I would stand up and applaud. This is what this is about. Now, I recall, I mentioned this to you beforehand, when the USTA had tournaments in Crotona Park, BronxNet broadcast many of them. I was at courtside for a lot of those. And then, of course, the Cary Leeds Center opened, as you said. I was always interested in the location of it, that it's in the geographic center of the Bronx, in the middle, of course, of one of our most beloved, well, all the parks are beloved, but that's our most beloved, one of the most beloved parks. But what about that location works for you? I guess, is it the central location? Is it...
Yeah, I mean, it's central and it's also, look, you're surrounded by Phipps, Murphy, NYJTL housing as well.
That's right, yes.
Right around the park. There's a lot of schools nearby. There's a lot of communities that in need around there that are looking for positive alternatives, and that's where we wanted to be. look, there's tennis is available in Tony sort of suburbs and sort of communities with resources. But the question for us was, can you create a world-class facility in the South Bronx, Central Bronx? And that's what we set out to do.
I'm going to ask Yesica what the answer to that is. And the answer is yes, right? You played tennis.
Yeah.
And now you're working as an official in this facility. Number one, if you were to dream up a facility before you got here, isn't this the kind of thing you would dream up? That not only is it a place to play tennis, but it's a place to do more. Just talk about how you see this particular facility.
Absolutely. In my opinion, it's an outstanding facility. I grew up playing tennis. I played tennis in college. So it wasn't always just about tennis. It was also about having a space, a safe space for kids to study, to learn outside of the tennis court. So I think that the facilities are amazing. We also have a space where kids can spend time with their families, do their homework, and it's right there in the Bronx.
We'll talk about some of those other programs for sure. But let's just talk about the sport of tennis. Now, I mentioned the other sports. We all know baseball, basketball, and soccer and everything else. Those are team sports. This is an individual sport. So maybe we'll start even with a personal question. How did playing that sport help you grow and develop so that you could become, an executive in a big company?
I love being a tennis player. I think that playing tennis has shaped my character. As an individual sport, you're at the tennis court by yourself, making your own decision, going through the good and the bad. Back in the day, or in tennis, as opposed to other sports, coaches could not even give you advice while you were playing the sport. So you really needed to be prepared.
Especially for a young person. I mean, it's one thing for Serena Williams to say, I got this, but it's another thing for, a 12 or a 14-year-old girl who's standing there and has to make decisions. One of the other things that was explained to me a number of years ago about the game of tennis was the notion of strategy and how that applies sitting around a boardroom and having, frankly, if you're female, having to negotiate with men who've had this competition all their lives. But if you can succeed in tennis, figure out which way to go. I think that's kind of part of it, right? It really develops a state of mind that is a winning state of mind, so to speak.
Absolutely. I completely agree with what you just said. Even walking on the street, not just being at a table with more men. Because I played tennis, because I succeeded, I always thought that I was strong and that I wasn't afraid. Confidence, exactly.
Because you were alone in the court. I mean, maybe you played doubles, I get that. But you were essentially alone and then had to decide, am I going to serve hard? Am I going to go, how are you going to navigate that? And you think even walking in the street, it's helped your stature?
Yeah.
Wow.
100%.
What folks, we certainly want people to attend the programs. What a great selling point, especially for parents and for young girls and women to think about, self-worth, et cetera. One of the things that I heard about, now I don't know which one of you wants to talk about it, the Wimbledon and the U.S. Open are coming. New York Junior Tennis League students, clients, players are going to be involved. Maybe you should address that a little bit. That's pretty darn exciting.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with the U.S. Open, what we'll try to do is see if any of our young people can get jobs there as ball boys and ball girls to be around the court. We also get our young people to go see the Open as well. There's a fan appreciation week before, so we try to expose our young people as much as possible. We also host at the Cary Leeds Center the U.S. Boys Qualifying tournament as well. So that happens, and it's a great way for people in the community to see some real high level. These are the best juniors in the world to play that they can see in the Bronx.
I don't know if you can articulate this. Maybe Yesica can. What is it like when a youngster who's really trying their best to learn the game? It's not an easy game. It takes a lot of different, faculties to be able to do it. But when they see somebody who is like Yesica, athletic, physically fit, and really can navigate that stuff. Do you see changes? Well,
Did
of
you
course.
get the chance to do that as you were growing up through the world of tennis?
Yeah, I did. Well, first, representation is super important. Having role models is very, very important. Obviously, great leaders have created the path, but if you have an idea of what that path looks like, it's even better. I grew up in Spain, actually, and I had a chance to be a ball girl at the Madrid Open. And,
That's fascinating.
Yeah, meeting Serena Williams,
You did.
Rafa Nadal. Yeah, I did. And she was very nice. So just...
But that helps. Let's not, because a lot of times you meet a famous person and they kind of breeze by you. I don't want to say which New York team I was at, and there were a bunch of kids waiting for an autograph, and the star player came out and basically just ignored them. I don't want to diss anybody, but I know exactly what it was. And I said, so what? Take 2 minutes and say hello, and it means everything, right?
It means everything, absolutely. Because it's one thing seeing it on TV, and another thing realizing that they are a person, human beings.
And, one of the things, I'm going to digress slightly, because you mentioned Serena and Venus. There was a time in women's tennis before them. And they really, nowadays people grow up and they think of, who are the biggest stars in, let's say, American women's tennis. Obviously, Serena overtook her sister, you might recall that. But it wasn't always like that. And they really crystallized that this was, the sport for kids. All right, let's talk about programs. ACE's after-school program.
Yeah.
Let's say I got the notes here. It's the largest comprehensive school-based after-school provider in New York City, which is saying something. Talk about the scope of ACES and what does it do. And for all of these programs, we want to let people know how they can, especially parents, to get their kids involved.
Yeah, it's one of the largest. We're one of the largest providers in New York City, and basically what ACES programs is, it's what we say comprehensive. That means right after school, we'll take you from the classroom for the elementary school. We'll provide you sort of a free snack meal. You get homework help. It's not just tennis, but it's also, there's STEM activities, there's art, there's dance, there's field trips.
I got to tell you, I love this. Keep going.
Yeah.
No, but because it answers that fundamental question that parents have been asking me and everybody. What are my kids doing after school?
Yeah, so we're in multiple schools in the Bronx.
In the schools now, of course, the Cary Leeds Center is
separate. This is a separate thing. So ACES is in the schools. It's primarily for the school children in the school. And you just have to go to our website, NYJTL.org.
And are these free programs?
These are all free.
All free programs. And I know, some of the after school, and I'm not criticizing anybody for it because it takes money to put these things together. Yeah. So the NYJTL runs on grants
so these are programs that, we receive some funding from the New York City, the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. We obviously supplement it with private money and grants that we can as well, because you want to bring as many resources as possible to young people and their families. But the goal is it's free, it's high quality, and it's easy for the parents to access. We know that, as you said, there's two sides of this for young people. You want to give them positive alternatives, but we also know a lot of our families are working families, and they want childcare as well. So when parents put their kids in after school, they want to make sure they're fed, homework is done by the time they pick them up. So,
and it wouldn't be the worst thing if they also had a fitness component to
absolutely.
it. You mentioned it, and I breezed past it. We talked about role models for women. You mentioned Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
He obviously was a world-class tennis player, a legendary figure, blazed a trail for everybody past him. But there was this component
100%.
in his life. We're going back to the beginning of the program. Talk a little bit about what NYJTL did to model itself after what Arthur Ashe brought. I would say brought to the table, but brought to the court.
Yeah. No, look, I think he was such a larger than life figure where he could have easily rested on the laurels of what he accomplished on the court. But when you read his biography, you hear his interviews, he really emphasized the importance of education. because he knew the majority of young people are not likely to go win Wimbledon. He knew the way that many poor families are going to succeed is going to be through education. And so we've been adamant in following that sort of philosophy. There's pathways in our programs that you can get D1 college scholarships, but we know the majority of young people, that we want them to graduate high school and go to college, and we're going to provide tutoring, free SAT prep, free SAT prep, all the support we can, and we really try to push education as much as tennis.
This is what Arthur Ashe taught,
absolutely.
which is really the fundamental concepts that we're talking about today. Ms. De Lucas, let's just talk about the community tennis program. I mean, after all, it is tennis. You know that there's other stuff, but talk about the courts and the facility and what young people and adults can do.
Well, we offer free community tennis lessons both at Cary Leeds and other public facilities throughout the 5 boroughs. As Udai mentioned, they can find information on how to sign up through our website, NYJTL.org. And it really doesn't matter what age you are. If you're interested in playing tennis, please come contact us. We will provide with tennis rackets, balls, anything you need.
Yeah, I saw the note on the website, and I got a little bit of a kick out of it, that all equipment provided free of charge on site, but you have to bring sneakers and water. And that's okay. I mean, we're not asking a lot. Yeah. So what do they do? Do you do individual instruction? You run tournaments? I mean, let's talk about the tennis aspect of it, and then, do students then graduate from there into something else, or, just talk about that process for an individual.
Of course. So first of all, we work with a lot of progressions. First, they need to get familiarized, learn the new sport, the new skills. We make sure that they develop as players and then provide them different opportunities to keep growing. Some kids, they're just getting started, they're just getting to know the sport, and they might be interested, they might be not, but at least we want to make sure that they learn the values of the sport. Then if they keep progressing, we have other opportunities at Cary Leeds, like our SAP program, which is a scholar athlete program, where we would continue to support those more advanced players. If not, they can just keep coming and enjoy
get a chance to play.
Yeah.
One of you mentioned, I mean, I know that it's in 11 schools. I think you just mentioned that it's not only at Cary Leeds, you run it at other facilities. Do we have, this is probably a very obvious question, do we have enough tennis courts in the Bronx? Are there places for more of them? Expanding it as a sport? I mean, I'm just curious about it because, of course, our parkland is so precious and so overused and underused and overused, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, in all of our school-based programs, the overwhelming majority of schools do not have access to a tennis court. So we end up teaching tennis in a gym, in a schoolyard, sometimes in a cafeteria. So
we played off the handball wall.
Exactly, yeah.
I can tell you that.
So yes, could the Bronx use more tennis courts? Absolutely. Could the rest of the city? Yes, absolutely.
I got to ask you this. I questioned myself 15 times whether I wanted to ask this during the program. Pickleball. The emergence of pickleball. Now, okay, so now I didn't tell them I was going to talk about this. Do you view that as just kind of a silly little thing? Or is that it's like, what are you doing? Really play tennis? Or do you think this is kind of a good thing to interest people in the racket type sport, and at least some of the fundamentals of it are similar? People who play tennis probably can do well. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look.
And you're going to get the same question.
Yeah.
You want to answer? Well, you answer first, and then we'll let you.
I don't think. Look, we're not anti any sport. I'm going to sort of
sports are good.
Yeah, sports are good.
Okay.
So I'm going to play Switzerland on this a little bit. But we really try to promote tennis. We think that's sort of a game of a lifetime. Pickleball is easier to pick up. It's a little bit louder. Right, the ball makes a loud noise. We've seen some older adults get into it.
No question, because they don't have to run as far. The court is a little smaller.
Right. But
I have my friends.
but our young people, we've seen an interest in tennis, and we've been sort of pushing.
Yeah.
Right. So you jumped out of your seat when I asked that
One of the
question.
things that I wanted to mention and let everyone know is that when we introduce people to tennis, we also modified the tennis court, and we even use lower
that's
pressure.
interesting.
We use lower pressure balls so that the bounce is not so high, so that it's not that complicated for kids or even adults to start playing tennis. I know pickleball is fun and it's very social. Just like tennis, the court is smaller, it's easier to learn, but we've made those changes.
So that they can. That is fascinating. I wasn't aware. Is that something that was invented at Cary Leeds, or is that generally done? I'm so sorry. I had never heard that before.
Yeah. So basically, the USTA, the ITF, and organizations in the tennis world, they realize that using very big rackets or balls that bounce really high for beginners, it makes it a lot more complicated.
Rackets because they can hit it.
Yeah,
Oh.
so modifying the size of the racket, the pressure of the ball,
The court size. And
the court size makes it a little easier at the beginning, and we've seen retention rates increase.
I don't know if one of you mentioned the STP program. Is that part of the? Or is that a different program? Let's say from ACES or the Scholar.
It is different. It is different.
What is STP?
So it's school time tennis program. What we do is we train PE teachers from throughout the city. We do the trainings at the Cary Leeds Center for free, where PE teachers are able to get their free CTLE, credits every year that they need to.
That's the continuing teacher and leader education.
And that's what they need to do to maintain their license. And what we do is we provide them equipment as well on how to teach tennis in their gym classes. And for some, let's say, if you don't have much experience with teaching tennis, we'll provide some on-site support as well. We'll send one of our coaches.
Wow.
And so you get rackets, balls, and mini nets as well.
So let's just talk that out for a second. So you're a teacher in a high school gym, maybe, and you have many Bronx buildings have really nice gyms. You teach them how to put up a net, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Well, first of all, it's like, how do you do sort of exercise and things to engage the young people? How do you introduce the notion of competition? Because kids like competition. And these are, like Yesica was saying, these are with low compression balls, smaller rackets, lower nets. So this is really introductory level. Now, if you get hooked onto the game, then you can go to one of our community tennis sites, and there's other pathways for you to get more involved.
And so I think it's fascinating because very often we talk about the young people and all those opportunities, but these are opportunities for professionals. And do you find that phys ed teachers, like, they really benefit?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
a revelation.
It's basically a one-day training, and like I said, if you're new to the sport, we'll provide on-site support as well, or for some people that one day is enough. But they appreciate we get that, and we're partnering with the USTA as well to give sort of free equipment to the
and one thing I wanted to ask Ms. De Lucas about is the staff that you have. They've got to be able to do it. Do you find community people who, are there volunteers? How do you find enough? Because we talked about the numbers. How do you find enough people to actually, who you got to know how to play? If you ask me, I'm not a good tennis player, and it would not work. But how do you find people who can really do it? Or are they everywhere and I'm just not, and we're all not aware of it?
Well, NYJTL has been around for many years, so there are many kids who maybe grew up with NYJTL and now they're interested in, that's the beautiful part about NYJTL, giving back to the community. So many people who learn tennis through NYJTL now want to teach other kids, share that knowledge with them. Some others maybe just grew up playing tennis and now they want to teach as well. Or maybe they're just interested in sports, and like Udai say, we'll give them that training.
So, Mr. Tambar, let's just wrap it up here. So, the bottom line message is, I forgot what you had said, the opportunity.
Yeah, talent is universal.
Talent is universal in the BX, of course, we know that, but
opportunity is not.
Opportunity is not, and this is what you're here to do.
Absolutely.
Make a pitch to parents, like for parents who are saying, Gary does a good job on the show, but why is he talking about tennis? What is really the germ here?
Look, if you want your kids to sort of be engaged, and the studies have shown this as well, kids who play tennis often do better in school. So if you want your kids to be engaged...
I got to say, I don't like the word often. Kids who play tennis do better in school.
Yes, kids who play tennis do better in school. So if you're a parent who wants your child to be healthy, sort of do well in school, be disciplined, develop character, come to our website, NYJTL.org, and join our organization.
Ms. De Lucas, I just want to ask you kind of your impression. Now, you've been there for a year. Have you seen things that really change you emotionally, and have you say, you know what, give me an example of a youngster you saw who came in, maybe didn't know a lot, and now does something. And it must be a joy for you.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to say that it's been an amazing year. I see so many people who are so passionate about their job, who really want to give
their job as instructors.
As instructors, yeah, who really want to give back to the community, who see the value and the potential in the kids. That's just very motivating for me. Then when it comes to kids, every kid is different. Every single kid is different. And every day almost, I have very inspirational stories.
Really?
Yeah.
Give us an example. We all want to be inspired. Like what do you see? You see a youngster who achieves?
Well, when you asked me this question, I was thinking of one little kid called Raymond, who loves tennis. I've never seen anyone spend so much time at the tennis court.
How old?
He's probably 8 years old.
I was thinking 6 or 8 years old. And
Yeah.
his parents are smart and they sent him out there.
Yeah, and his dad is usually there with him. And I feel like that's a really safe and comfortable space for him. And he reads the newspapers, everything.
And just, you know what? Keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
Listen, Udai Tambar, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Yesica De Lucas, thank you so much. Keep taking care of our kids and adults and our PE teachers and all the other hundreds and thousands of people you affect, because what you're doing is so important in the Bronx.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that'll do it. We thank our producer, Rebecca Hemick. Our director is Nick Marrero. Editor Yesica Diaz. We have a cast of thousands working with us here in the studio. And of course to you too, the people of the Bronx who are going to play a little more tennis, get your kids involved, and we'll have a better Bronx. That's how we'll do it. Good night.